Friends, these days a lot of people are obsessed with the idea of going abroad. Some people want to go there to study, some to work, and others just to blog. Whatever the case, everyone seems to want to go. But there are many who live out of desperation to escape danger to their lives back home. Going to a country like America isn't easy. You have to go through so much paperwork that many people end up going there illegally. Our story today is also based on a true story about a woman who, fed up with her country's dictatorship, came to America illegally with her daughter. But here she faces things she never imagined she did have to deal with back home. So let's see what challenges she has to overcome to survive in America. Friends, this movie was released in 2024 is called Silence of the Fairy. At the beginning of the movie, we meet a girl named Nina who come to America illegally. She needs money to get her paperwork in order. She asks her friend Mary for help. Mary takes her to the home of an elderly man named Luther so Nina can earn some money and finish her paperwork. On the way, Nina asks Mary about Luther, wanting to know what kind of person he is. Mary tells her that Luther is a good guy and he will take care of her too. She also mentions that many girls have worked at this place before and they were all really happy. Mary tells Nina not to worry too much. While walking through the forest, Nina and Mary stop to rest for a bit. Just then, a man runs out of the woods and asks Nina for help. Seeing this, Nina gets scared and sits back down. Nina tells Mary that maybe the guy needs their help. Mary explains to her that helping anyone there could be dangerous. She says these people live in tribes and often fight with each other. If they get involved, their lives could be in danger too. After a while, Nina and Mary arrive at Luther's place. Mary tells Luther that Nina is looking for a job. Luther agrees to hire Nina. Luther then mentioned that all the girls who worked there before were single. Nina realizes he is talking about her daughter. She quickly tells Luther not to worry, saying her daughter is not naughty and won't bother him at all. She also promises to take good care of him. After that, Luther agrees to hire her. Mary helps her friend get settled and then leaves. Then Luther showed Nina his house. Nina was shocked to find several severed deer heads in the house. Luther told her that he was very fond of hunting deer. I often hunt them, eat their meat, and preserve their heads to keep in my house, he said. After this, Luther took Nina to his room. There Nina saw a very old photo. Nina asked Luther about the picture. Luther told her, "My grandfather is in this photo and it was taken when we were celebrating harvest." Nina asked, "What is harvest?" Luther said smilingly, "Harvest is coming soon and we all will celebrate it together. Then you will know what it is." Nina spent her days trying to understand all these things. When Nina opened her eyes the next morning, she didn't see her daughter. She got nervous and came downstairs and saw that she and Luther were sitting together having breakfast. In fact, Luther had prepared breakfast for Nina as well. Nina felt very embarrassed by this because she woke up late on her first day of work. She apologized to Luther and promised him that she would wake up early the next morning. Luther told her, "No problem, today is your first day. First you have breakfast, then I consider you at work." During their conversation, they suddenly heard strange noises coming from the basement. Luther said, "Don't panic, actually my house is near the forest, and so raccoons often come into the basement. You eat your breakfast comfortably. I will take care of it." After this, Luther, while explaining his work to Nina, says about himself that he hasn't gotten married yet because he likes to be alone. He also shows Nina a room outside his house. He doesn't want anyone going in there. It's his private room. After this, Luther gets a piece of meat from the basement and gives it to Nina. He asks her to cook it. Meanwhile, Luther notices that Nina is coughing a lot. That's why Luther makes a herbal tea for Nina and gives it to her. He tells Nina that after drinking this, she will never have to cough again. This must have seemed strange to Nina, but she drinks the tea quietly. As soon as she drinks the tea, Nina starts feeling dizzy. Because of this, She goes to her room and falls asleep. When Nina woke up the next morning, she felt very refreshed. She wasn't coughing anymore. Luther again gives Nina the same tea to drink. Nina happily drinks the tea right away. Seeing this, Luther is happy. As soon as she drinks it, Nina falls asleep again. She couldn't find out what's in the tea that makes her so sleepy. Well, Nina wakes up the next morning and starts her work. She was chopping wood for the house. Then Luther come to her and said he was going to get some important things for the house. He asked her to take care of everything until he got back. As soon as Luther left, a man ran up to Nina and asked for her help. Seeing the man, Nina remembered what Luther had said. She felt threatened. She immediately went inside the house with her daughter and locked all the doors. When Luther returned, Nina confronted him about the man. Luther told her that the place was very dangerous. If she saw any stranger, she should consider them a threat and kill them. Nina said she couldn't do that because she had never killed anyone. Luther took Nina out and made her practice hunting. He even asked her to kill a baby deer, but she couldn't do it. Luther explained that she had to be able to do anything to protect her daughter. At that moment, the same man who had asked for Nina's help before showed up again. Without hesitation, Luther hit him. Before he unconscious, the man said he wasn't a threat, his car had broken down and he need help. The man introduced himself as Andres. Luther believed Andres' story and invited him to their house. He apologized for hitting him and offered to help Andres with his car, which would take about 2 days. He asked Andres to stay at their house for the next 2 days because there was a harvest festival coming up. Luther gave Andres the same tea he gave Nina every day. After serving them both tea, Luther left. Nina went to the kitchen to finish her work and Andres follows her to help. He noticed a wine bottle in the kitchen. He asked Nina why they don't drink the wine, but Nina does not agree, saying that this house belongs to Luther and she is just the caretaker and she can't do anything without his permission. Andres asks her why she is there working. Nina says she has problems with her legal documents and needs money to fix them. And to get this money, she is working here. Andres tells her that he is also on a visitor visa. After this, they both go to their respective rooms to sleep. When Nina wakes up at midnight, she sees a man standing outside her window wearing a deer mask. Nina is scared at first, but after looking carefully, she doesn't see anyone there. Nina thinks that maybe it's all in her imagination and she falls asleep again. When she wakes up the next morning, her daughter wasn't in bed. She comes running downstairs. She sees her daughter playing outside with Luther. Nina quickly picks up her daughter and hugs her. At the same time, Nina sees 3 people bearing deer masks heading towards the forest. Seeing them scares her. And just as she was about to tell Luther about this, she sees that all 3 have disappeared. Meanwhile, Luther finds out that Nina and Andres drank his wine without permission. Because of that, he scolds her a bit and says that this is his house and she can't touch anything without his permission. He further tells Nina that some of his guests are coming that day. That's why he brought a dress for Nina. He takes Nina to his room to give her the dress. There, Nina sees something in a book that looks like what she saw in her hallucination. Before Nina can ask Luther about it, Luther starts scolding her and he says that this house is mine and everything here is mine too. That wine was mine as well. You can't touch my stuff without my permission. If this happens again, it will be really bad for you. After that, while handing the dress to Nina, he says that she should wear this dress to the party tonight. She has to look good tonight. Nina listens to him and gets dressed up in the same dress. She shows up at Luther's party with her daughter, but seeing how the guests are acting, Nina feels weird. She takes Andres upstairs and tells him about the strange behavior of everyone. Andres agrees with her because he has also noticed the guests acting strange. That's why he asks Nina to come with him. He tells her she can come with him and that he has some money to help her, but Nina says no and that she can't leave. Even though Luther is kind of tough on the outside, he is actually really nice. She can't leave him. Andres agrees, but tells her to be careful. Meanwhile, Luther calls them both downstairs. Everyone enjoys the party together. In the middle of the party, Luther asks Andres to live with him. Nina also wanted to go out with him, but Luther convinced her to stay and take care of the guest. Going outside, Luther tells Andres that his car has been fixed. If he wants, he can leave from here. After that, Luther takes Andres to his private room, which he refuses to let Nina go in. As soon as he goes inside, Andres gets really nervous. Then someone hits him on the head from behind. Meanwhile, Nina is a little worried about the guest's behavior. She goes outside looking for Andres. There, she sees a man wearing the same deer mask again. Now Nina is starting to think that she is been having a lot of hallucination lately. That's why she ignores him. Seeing Nina outside, Luther tells her that if she is looking for Andres, he left. Nina is surprised to hear this. She says, how can he leave without seeing her? Luther tells her that he was in a hurry, so he left. Luther then gives Nina the same drink he always gives her. Nina passes out after drinking it. Luther brings her inside. After a while, when Nina opens her eyes, she is still unconscious and laying on a table. She sees that many people are standing around her, doing some kind of ritual. Seeing this, she closes her eyes again. The next morning, Nina wakes up in her bed as usual. Like always, she dismissed the incident as a hallucination and started her daily routine. But while cleaning, she saw blood stains on the floor. Seeing this, Nina wondered whose blood it was. Because of this, she begins to suspect something was wrong. That same day, Nina went to Luther's room while playing with her daughter. There, she found a wooden box hidden in the cupboard. Upon opening the box, Nina found lots of pictures inside. Looking at them, she learned that during the harvest festival, people in this community ate human flesh. That meant these people were cannibals. She also found a book about the community. When Nina was about to read the book, she heard someone shouting. Frightened, she put everything back and left the room. When Nina came downstairs, she realized the noise were coming from the basement. Just as Nina was about to open the door to investigate, Luther came out of the basement with a blood-stained knife in his hand. Nina was terrified after seeing the knife. She felt like she heard Andres' voice coming from that room. But Luther refused to let her go inside and told her not to enter the room under any circumstances. Despite Luther's warning, Nina planned to go to the room at midnight. Knowing Nina would definitely go, Luther stayed awake too. As Nina walked towards the room, Luther called out to her from behind, saying, "Don't make that mistake again. Do what I say." The next day, when Luther went out to get supplies, Nina decided to go to the basement again. She took a knife with her. Nina tried to open the basement door lock but couldn't. Then she broke down the door with an axe. As soon as the door opened, Nina was horrified to find Andres tied up in the room. Luther had gouged out his eyes. Nina ran away with her daughter and the injured Andres. But before they could escape, Luther arrived and knocked all three unconscious with a stun gun. When Nina regained consciousness, a few hours later, she found herself tied up in a room. Luther brought her food and the same tea as always, but this time Nina refused to drink it. Luther tells her dad, "If you don't want to eat, then don't eat. But if you don't listen to me, then I will kill your daughter." Despite not wanting to, Nina agrees and drinks the tea. That same night, Nina sees Luther is standing in front of her, bearing a deer mask. Seeing this, Nina realizes that the person she sees every day is actually Luther. Luther takes Nina to the bathroom and tells her to take a bath in front of him. Nina obeys him, even though she doesn't want to, and starts bathing in front of him. Luther tells her dad she can't be part of the festival unless she becomes pure. He also tells Nina that he will raise her daughter according to his community. Hearing this, Nina angrily attacks Luther, but instead, Luther starts droning Nina inside the bathtub. Afterwards, he takes her head out of the bathtub and asks her to cooperate with him, and then leaves from there. The next morning, we see Nina sitting upset. The same Luther has again brought food for her and starts feeding with her with his hands and says that tonight is special. Nina asks him to let her see her daughter. Luther then tells him to eat. Nina quickly agrees and eats the food, hoping that maybe Luther will let her meet her daughter. After this, we see that Luther goes to his room and is cutting Andres' body. to feed his cannibals guest. Nina, still unconscious from the tea given to her by Luther, wakes up to find herself on a dining table surrounded by some members of Luther's community. She is shocked to see her friend there. It doesn't take long for her to realize that she is also a part of this community. Luther then takes out a book and begins to read from it. This book he had always kept hidden from Nina. Afterward, everyone takes a drink. Luther then lifts the lid of a dish, revealing Andres' cooked head inside, which they plan to eat that day. Seeing all this, Nina becomes extremely anxious and vomits from the stress, ruining the party. Everyone present starts criticizing Luther. In anger, Luther grabs Nina and locks her in the basement, leaving her daughter there with her as well. All of Luther's guests live in anger. Luther apologizes to them and steps outside to drop off Mary. Meanwhile, Nina gets her daughter to open her hand, where she hides some weapons taped to her leg. After this, she comes out with a shotgun because she no longer wants to let these people live. As soon as she comes out of the basement, Nina sees a guest. He gets scared when he sees the gun in Nina's hand and starts begging for his life, but Nina kills him by shooting him. Hearing the gunshot, Luther and Mary return to their house. Nina then starts heading toward the room that Luther often forbade her from entering. Before she can open the door, Mary suddenly attacks her from behind, but Nina kills her by slitting her throat and then opens the door with the gun. Inside, she finds many dismembered human body parts, which horrifies her, but she doesn't lose her resolve. She searches the room for a key, but then Luther appears at the door and tries to break it down with an axe. Hearing this, Nina picks up the gun and prepares to kill Luther. As soon as Luther appears in front of Nina, she shoots him, and the bullet hits Luther's hand. Luther somehow overpowers Nina and locks her in a box. Meanwhile, her daughter runs away and hides near the house. Luther locks Nina in the box and goes to find her daughter. Luther's thinking has now changed. At first, he wanted to raise Nina's daughter according to his culture, but now he is going to kill her. And that's when Nina frees herself from the box and goes after Luther. Nina grabs Luther from behind, causing Luther's crown to fall and break. In anger, Luther pushes Nina, making her fall down the stairs. Then one of the crown's horns pierces Nina's foot, causing her great pain. Luther then steps on Nina's bound and begins strangling her. Nina somehow pulls the horn out of her foot and attacks Luther's neck, weakening him. Afterward, Nina attacks him multiple times, killing him. In this way, Nina saves her life and that of her daughter. When morning comes, she takes Luther's car and leaves. There is a disclaimer at the end of the story that every year millions of migrants go missing in America. These are people who have come to America legally, and there is no record of those who have come illegally. In America, people often disappear without a trace, and with that, this heart-wrenching story ends here. So friends, how did you like this story? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to tell us which movie story you would like to hear next. If you liked our explanation, please support us by liking and sharing the video. See you soon with another interesting story. Until then, bye bye, take care.